If you've been reading the national real estate news this month, the word you keep seeing is uncertainty. And I want to be fair here because I'm not going to tell you the national news is wrong or the national story is off. I'm going to tell you that it's really not our story because the numbers right here in Westchase in 33626 are telling really a much different one. So let's walk through them all together, okay? Now, three things I want to cover. First, where the money is actually going in Tampa Bay right now. Second, whether demand is really slowing down the way the national news makes you think that it is or the people think it is. And third, the one that matters most if you're planning to move this year, how much room you have to negotiate today and why you've got more of it than you did 2 or 3 years ago. The last one surprises most people, that I talk to because we do have room today. Now, let's start with the money because the money moves before people do or usually does, right? The big investment dollars continue to come into Tampa Bay and they have not slowed down. So for example, Strategic Property Partners just announced nearly $1 billion for the next phase of Water Street downtown. That's over 2 more million square feet of new space. Almost 200,000 of that is going to be shops and restaurants and a brand new 450 plus unit luxury apartment tower. And nobody really spends that kind of money unless they believe this area is going to keep growing for the years to come. And it's not just downtown. Just this month, Tampa company called Third Lake Partners purchased the old West Shore Mall. And they're planning to, for about $130 million, they're planning to turn that aging mall into an entire mixed-use community. So homes, offices, shops, dining, the works. That's one more sign that serious investors are seeing a long-term opportunity here in Tampa Bay. Now, you might be thinking, why do I care about, about these projects? They're not even in Westchase. Here's why. When big money commits to an area, it's basically a bet on the future, a 10 or 20-year bet that people and jobs will continue to come. And nobody makes that bet on a place people are leaving. So here's what it means for Westchase. Now, we're less than 15 or 20 minutes really away from the West Shore area, or West Shore district. That's one of the biggest job centers on this side of the bay. And we're less than 30 minutes from Water Street and downtown, which might be the biggest job center in all of the region. Now, when those areas add jobs, this zip code is where a lot of those people tend to want to live. That's the connection. It's not that complicated. It just happens slowly. So it really never makes the headlines or the national news. So for the second thing, people moving in. Florida is still growing. According to the latest census numbers, Florida added just over 200,000 people in 2025 from folks moving in from out of the area, both from other states and from other countries. Now that's way down from the crazy pandemic years when we added nearly 600,000 back in 2022. But it's still one of the biggest gains in the entire country. And what about Tampa Bay specifically? Well, we're still the best value on this side of the state. Just compare us to South Florida. A typical home here in Westchase runs around $649,000. That's the median. Now, down in Coral Gables, one of South Florida's premier areas, that same home is about $2.55 million. That's almost 4 times as much. Same state, same tax situation, no income tax either way, but a massive difference in what it costs you to get in the door. Now, that price gap is a huge reason people choose Tampa Bay over South Florida. Now, let me be honest about what this does and doesn't mean. People moving here is a good tailwind indicator. It's not a guarantee, but it supports demand over the long haul. It does not promise that your specific home is going to go up in value on any set schedule. And anyone who really tells you otherwise is just trying to sell you something. Now, here's the part almost nobody is talking about. If you're a buyer, you've got more room to negotiate in Westchase right now than you did 2 years ago. Now, it's not a ton of room, but it is still room. Let me show you. Right now in 33626, there are 103 homes for sale. They're sitting on average for 25 days before someone puts them under contract. And they're selling for only 98% of asking price. Now, that is still close, but it's still 2% less. Now, rewind to 2024. You were skipping inspections. You were skipping the appraisal. You're paying over asking. You were telling the sellers you'd name your first child after them. That is not the market you're in today. Today, you can actually ask for things and you can sometimes get them. Seller concessions, repair credits, help buying down your rate, some closing costs. All of that is back on the table in a way it just wasn't in 2024. Now in Westchase, you're going to get less of that, but those things do exist here in the Tampa Bay area. And this is where I want to push back on the most common thing I hear. I'm just going to wait until rates come down. I get it. I want cheaper rates. Everyone wants cheaper rates. But think about what you're giving up when rates finally drop. All those buyers who have been waiting on the sidelines jump back into the arena at the same time. So that 98% jumps up to over 100% on list price. Homes for sale dry up. They sell faster and the bidding wars come right back. And every one of those things you could have negotiated today, gone. So waiting for a lower rate is a real strategy. It's just not a free one. You're trading a lower payment for the power to negotiate. Sometimes the trade is worth it. A lot of the times it just isn't. The only way to know for sure is to run the actual numbers on your situation. And each situation is different. So what should you actually do? Well, if you're buying, let's stop staring at the rate and start watching how many homes are for sale in your price range. Then you can know how much money there is to negotiate. If it's $550 to $650, there are 10 active homes right now in Westchase in that price range. That is way up from the pandemic years. Now that number tells you how much room you have to negotiate. The rate, it does not. If you're selling, that 98% is the market being honest with you about pricing right now. Price to that number and you will sell. Price like it's 2022 and you'll just sit there. Then you'll cut your price and end up with less than you had or would have if you priced it right from day one. And now if you're just sitting on the sidelines watching, that's totally fair place to be. At least you know what to keep an eye out for and focus on how many homes are for sale and how fast they're selling in the specific neighborhood. These things move before prices do. If you want this broken down for your exact situation, your price range, your neighborhood or village, your timeline, just reach out. My info is below, and there's more Westchase market data over at westchaserealtor.com. I do this every month for the 33626 specifically. So if this was helpful, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.